Ladies and gentlemen, you welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the explosion of a locally fabricated bomb sends shock waves down the spines of traders in the 2D market in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. The device exploded earlier today. We're going to tell you more in this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. We'll also take you to the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon and the Lake Chad basin at large. That area of Africa is becoming very difficult for inhabitants, notably because of drought, desertification and insecurity that are worsening the socio-economic situation. And the government of Cameroon and the Lake Chad socio-economic revival program are now seeking solutions to the problem. That's it for our top stories. We begin this newscast in the 2D market in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, where an explosive device exploded earlier today, sending shock waves down the spines of traders in that commercial space in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. And of course, it was later discovered that it was a locally fabricated bomb that exploded, a locally fabricated explosive device that exploded in that market in Yaoundé at a time when the country is facing security challenges from the north to the south, from the east to the west, with the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, and of course the Boko Haram terrorist problem in the far north region, and issues with rebels, notably rebels from Central Africa in the east region of the country. And this is coming to add to the security instability in the Republic of Cameroon, and traders were gripped by fear after that explosion. No casualties were recorded there. For greater details, here's an extract of a witness of that incident.
Okay, this morning at about 8 a.m. in the morning, when I just came to the market, I sit beside my table where I'm selling. I heard an explosive just about 20 meters away from my table here. Then when I look at it, I saw fire under a table where a certain woman is selling there. Then there are some boys beside there that they wash they clean fowls. When women buy fowl, they clean it. So those boys took water, poured on that fire and put it off. Then after about a minute, I went there with other people who were around. Went there I saw something like a battery, like a motorcycle battery, which were connected with the cover of a bucket. There were some cables there, showed that there were some connections, and that bucket was cut. They were put inside a bucket. They saw the bucket was scattered, which showed that there was sand inside. They put it with the sand. So somebody prepared it and put it with sand, but all indications show that it was something that somebody prepared it and put it there. So that's how it happened like that. Then after about 30 minutes like that, the police, we saw the first appearance of the first police came there, and then the commissioners came and many other policemen came, big policemen came there, and we saw policemen with 5 stars, 6 stars. They were there. They came with so much with apparel. Then they say all of us here that we are selling here, we should pack because they have to do a lot of search around here. So we pack our things and put them back in the magazine, in the store. Then they search everything, search. Then
the far north region of Cameroon and the Lake Chad basin at large is facing a very difficult socio-economic situation caused by drought and desertification. Climate change has significantly reduced water supply in the area, notably from the Lake Chad basin. From Lake Chad, it has become very difficult for the population of Dagala in the far north region of Cameroon and localities in the other Lake Chad basin countries to carry out agro-pastoral activities. Even subsistence agriculture is yielding little or nothing. The problem is further compounded compounded by financial constraints and insecurity. For the first time, the government of Cameroon and the Economic and Social Readjustment Program of the Lake Chad Basin are experimenting the cultivation of Irish potatoes and fish farming in the Sahel zone in view of solving that problem. Politicians, notably those of the opposition, are saying that government's continuous repression is becoming senseless and incomprehensible. They were reacting on the program Droit de Réponse at the weekend over Equinoxe television after the divisional officer of Douala 4 interrupted a training workshop organized by Friedrich Ebert Foundation for militants and officials of the Social Democratic Front and the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political parties of the opposition, and that meeting was interrupted by the administration. In the meantime, militants and supporters, communicators of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement think that government is doing everything possible to maintain social peace and cohesion, but this is affecting the peace of the country, according to militants and supporters, officials, politicians of the opposition. Now we have details in this report compiled by Equinoxe.
Politicians on Droit de Réponse on Equinoxe television say governance under the Biya regime is not only repressive but incomprehensible. According to Barrister Mustafa Ngwana of the SDF, this is evident as a meeting grouping some SDF and CRM communicators recently in a hotel in Douala 4 subdivision was banned by the divisional officer Issa Dauda, who noted will it disrupt order and public peace, as he terms the meeting in his decision, a political manifestation unauthorized. A meeting cannot be mistaken for a manifestation. Protests or manifestations are done in the streets. There is no way it can take place in a hotel. Not all militants of the SDF were even invited.
C'est une incongruité juridique à nul autre pareil.
On his part, Barrister Simon Siage Kakak of the UPC blames the SDF and CRM, who have suffered repeated repression from the Yaoundé regime and who understand how it functions very well, for failing to adopt concrete strategies to outsmart the Biya government. All political actors in Cameroon today know the posture of administrative authorities concerning organization of manifestations. So, when engaging in meetings or manifestations, you have to be strategic.
Quand vous vous engagez dans des opérations, il faut être de bons stratèges. C'est ce que je dis.
According to Charles Elizang, CPDM communicator, organizers of the February 16 meeting did not obtain any authorization from the divisional officer to go on with the come together in a hotel.
Ils n'ont pas déclaré leur autorité, leur point barre.
The divisional officer for Douala 4 deserves a promotion. The Joe certainly had an understanding of objectives of this meeting before taking the administrative decision.
C'est une réunion ou c'est le mariage, je ne sais pas ce qui s'est passé là-bas. Qu'est-ce que vous en savez?
Charles Elizang challenges the opposition class to follow the CPDM footsteps in respecting all laws governing organization of meetings and public events.
Aujourd'hui que le RDPC, étant le parti au pouvoir, respecte lui-même d'abord les textes de la loi.
Now to the east region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the population, a section of the population is expressing concerns, worries about the absence of adequate infrastructures to welcome students of the recently created University of Betua during the 2023-2024 academic year, and others are raising concerns about the gap between training offered in state universities in particular and exigencies of the job market, or better still the active world. However, this initiative of the head of state to create more state universities, notably that in the one in the east region of the country, is applauded by many. It is with Immaculate Fogwe.
Elites of the East region are eager to see the newly created State University of Betwa go operational during the 2023-2024 academic year. But observers and analysts say a lot of conditions which should be made for such an institution to go operational are still hanging with the case of Betwa. One of such preoccupation is that of infrastructure.
L'urgence, c'est préparer des structures.
The problem now is not the site, but infrastructures to host the students. The government should equally think of other options on how to advance work. We are equally worried because there are no available mini-cities to host the students at the moment.
Préparons-nous à construire des bureaux que l'État peut.
Despite these challenges, Dr. Ngele Meke, a pharmacist, says such an initiative will be a springboard for the development of the area. The School of Mining, Forestry and Technology and many others will soon go operational. These schools can help advance the transformation sector and create jobs. Our aim is that students graduating from here can be self-employed and will not have to solely depend on the government. Construction work have already kick-started in the Yaja and Dumbi neighborhood in Betwa, and it is expected to last for 12 months. President Paul Biya, during his end-of-year address to the nation on December 31st, 2021, announced the creation of state universities in Betwa, Garu and Ebolowa, regional chief towns of the East, North and South regions, respectively.
The Ministry of Public Health of the Republic of Cameroon says the COVID-19 situation of the country has significantly improved within the past few weeks. Today, Cameroon counts 119,107 persons tested positive for COVID-19. 116,957 have recovered and 1,920 have died. Active cases stand at 230, including 11 under medical attention and 9 on oxygen. Recovery rate is at 98.2% and death rate 1.6%. And it is practically the same situation across the African continent. In many of the African countries, the COVID-19 curve is gradually going down and the situation is stabilizing gradually according to figures or statistics and analysis made by medical experts on the continent. The situation of Africa and even the world at large is gradually stabilizing and improving significantly. And this is where we end the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Our guest today, Fabrice Lena, Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, PAP, joining us online. Hello, Fabrice.
Greetings to you, Sir Babila. Thank you very much for having me as your guest in this program today.
All right, in one of your recent publications, you urge young people in the Republic of Cameroon to unite and put in the same energy displayed to support the indomitable lions of Cameroon during the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations here in the country. And you said they should put in the same energy in the quest for solutions to socio-political, security and even economic problems plaguing the country. Can you tell us more about this?
Thank you very much, Babila, once more. Before I commence, I want to salute the efforts of some young people that are putting a lot of effort in the political field. I'm talking about Pachika Blaise, I'm talking about Chi Diodone, I'm talking about Kotem, I'm talking about Jiwum Emmanuel, I'm talking about Banejine Ellis, I'm talking about Modesquin Akilum, not to forget my friend and brother who is coming in to join politics, Mr. Bana Sema Ivo. So all these young people are putting a lot of energy into politics, and I really wish that more young people join us, because the tendency now in Cameroon is for young people to divert their attention to social issues. I know very well that football is one of those aspects that have been a source of unity, of collective social action in Cameroon from the foundation of our nation. As well, I really see that if we could put this same energy, this same enthusiasm into political issues, into actions that affect our society, like the Anglophone crisis calling for its end, like the rising prices of goods and services, say no to inflation, like the mobile money tax, say no to mobile money tax, and holding the government accountable for the expenditure of government budget, we will have more reforms, more changes, and we will do this non-violently and obtain good results, rather than young people scaring away from politics and abandoning it maybe to just some few whose voices are not significant enough to cause the kind of change that is required.
Right, you said, I quote, let's be keen to issues that directly affect us. We will be healing gradually, step by step. We will be fixing the country in a non-violent way. What exactly did you mean here?
Exactly, Sir Babila. Once more, if you look at non-violent strategies in solving societal problems, it might take long, it might take a slow pace, but it is always the best strategy to get problems solved. The Anglophone crisis, from its onset, if we had to continue with the manifestations without necessarily going for weapons, I'm very sure that we should have obtained more reforms, and everyone will not have had, maybe some people will not have had the kind of suffering they are having today. What I mean step by step collective action, every youth on board here, is that if the number of Cameroonian young Twitter users, about 400,000, the number of Facebook users, all these people, the number of people that come to intervene in your program, Talking Point, below 35 years old, if all these people who constitute the large part of our population, who constitute the greater number of Cameroonian population, say, all right, we are going to take the government by this action and to demand non-violently, maybe by a collective petition, by collective protest, by collective appeal, any other means or strategies of non-violent action, even just hashtags on social media, pressurizing the government and implicating or bringing such issues to the attention of the media and the international community. A lot will change. A lot will change. Remember that there are a lot of actions that the government has reacted to just from social media campaigns. So I'm saying that the amount of energy that young people put into social issues of entertainment, they will also put such things into politics. Once more, I think that politics define every sector of the economy, and there is no way you want to lead the society without necessarily partaking in politics. Every organization has its political policies, and politics is part of human nature. That is why we urge these young people to join us, to be part. Every young people will say that politics in Cameroon is for the old, is dirty, is this. Mr. Biya started politics when he was very young, at the age of 29. And most of these old folks that you're seeing around them. But it is not just about criticizing. It's not about giving up. It's not about apathy. It's not about not participating that is going to change the situation. Rather, when we choose not to participate, it gives them the power to mortgage our future and take any decision that it might be difficult for us to redirect, retract, or put in the trap of our interest as a particular age group of people who are suffering in the hands of very old people who have refused to relinquish power to the younger generation.
Many of the young people we saw supporting the Indomitable Lions in one way or the other either not concerned at all or are partially concerned with some of the socio-political and even security challenges that the country is facing today. What do you think is keeping many of the young people from putting their hands on the deck in the quest for solutions to the socio-political and security and even economic problems that the country is facing?
You know, Sir Babila, many of these young people and Cameroonians in general have been traumatized with power, have been traumatized with the abuse of power. This is a reality in our country. And for a very long time, these people have seen leaders that have come up never to do anything in their interest. And promises that are broken, lies, and as we know, never reflecting the aspiration of the young people or even putting in place infrastructure or amenities that is good for them. So all these things have harnessed to make young people to abstain from politics. But I keep saying that abstention is not the solution, because these young people that are not concerned about security crisis are the very young people that are dying on daily basis in the northwest and the southwest, in the north region, and even when we look at the composition of the other metropolitan towns of Cameroon, Yaoundé, Douala, Bafoussam, Bamenda, Limbe, Boya, we discover that it is the very young people that are suffering the heat of unemployment, that are suffering social violence, that are suffering police intimidation, that are suffering government injustices as they seek to write concours. So if you are not concerned about this, then there is a problem. And young people have to learn that fear must be overcome, because one of the serious issues that is like the obstruction to young people's participation in talking about socio-political issues, security issues, is fear. They must learn to overcome fear. There is never a country where all its population are imprisoned. There is never a country where everyone dies because the government is bad. No matter how a government becomes monarchical, obsolete, or repressive, there must always be a voice for the voiceless. There must always be hope for the vulnerable. There must always be some people that will stand tall. And you can choose to be. And it is not even a matter of choice. At this point, critical moment, it is a responsibility. It is a duty. It is something that should not even be a call from any other one. But yet, we have to make our peers understand that we are doing this for the country. We are doing this for our future. We are doing this for the generation behind us. We are doing this because our own generation are unable to benefit from any good thing that the former generation put in place. We rather came in an era where we are supposed to be solving problems that have been created by the old people who will not want to leave power. So this should be a preoccupation to any Cameroonian youth, to any Cameroonian young person. Traveling across the Mediterranean is not the solution. Going to Europe is not the solution. Abstaining is not the solution. Becoming lazy and criticizing or castigating everyone is not the solution. Taking active participation and doing what you can do, I think it is the solution, because they say a drop of water gradually will make the basin to get full.
Now, you said something very remarkable. Overcoming fear, the fear of being arrested, the fear of being detained, the fear of being tortured. It's a major issue that should be handled by young people. But the question is how? When they look at militants or supporters of Stand Up for Cameroon, civil society platform, arrested and detained and released recently after several months in detention, when they look at the arrest and detention of a Supreme Court magistrate, Justice Ayapol Abini, at the time of his arrest, he was still a Supreme Court magistrate, and many instances like the political leaders arrested here and there and detained, tortured, and things like that. And you were telling them they should overcome that fear.
Myself, Mr. Babila, have been a victim of such repression. Remember, I've been questioned in SED, Secretariat d'État de la Défense, several times. I've been at Commissariat Central numero 1 in Yaoundé, locked up there, thanks to the immediate intervention of our coordinated team that I was released. Mr. Babila, this is characteristics of an obsolete government. This is characteristics of a failed regime, a failed state. This is the characteristics of a government at the verge of collapse, of transition. This is the characteristics of the country under the president that have been in power for the past 40 years. What do we expect? All their objective is to conserve power ad infinitum, and every measure, every tool, instrument, element, things that they can use in order to conserve this power, they don't care much about it. But I want to ask these young people, look at the number of people who are dying in road accidents, in some kind of careless accidents, in hospitals. Look at the youths that are dying trying to cross the Red Sea, the Mediterranean Sea. Look at the number of youths that are dying maybe because of the Anglophone crisis or in the north. Is it compared to those that are in prison? Is it compared to those that are doing politics? Is it compared to... so the issue here is people, what they need is adequate information of how to go about this. Strategy, mobilization, having the necessary knowledge, understanding the political scenario of the country, the stakes that it takes for you to do these things, to be at the forefront, to lead, to support, to militate, you know. Talking about Stand Up for Cameroon, CRM members, the persecution of Popular Action Party members, and so on and so forth, it has its limits. There is an extent to which a government cannot go beyond. We still need to keep pushing forward. We still need to take lead. Their time is passing. Nature has its own course. It will take its course. And there will be a time that we will jubilate to say, oh, at last, we are moving into a new era, into a new republic, with a new regime, with a new government. There is no perfect government. That's true. There's no perfect country, that's true, but at least what we are advocating for here is constitutional democracy, stability, peace, meritocracy, where people can at least benefit from the effort of the government.
Before we go, some of the young Cameroonians have actually overcome the fear and they are taking actions, but the actions go in a direction or in a direction considered by government as terrorism, because those young people who have actually overcome the fear of being arrested and things like that are carrying guns in the bushes, fighting for their right, so to speak, fighting for one thing or the other, fighting for the independence of former British Southern Cameroons and all of that. Now, what do you think about this?
Yes, I think our strategy at the level of Popular Action Party has been non-violence. In no way do we support the use of arms to advocate for our rights. We denounce the use of arms. And that is why our party had the difficulties to re-establish itself, since its bastion of support is in the conflict zone. What the youth need to know is that firearms, war, use of guns have little place in the 21st century political system and diplomatic world. And you have little support. And those supporting you are basically deceiving you, because life is not repairable like things that we fabricate. We just have to live once. And taking such decisions is not going to be very productive. It's going to be destructive. And that's the consequence of what we are seeing in our country today. Like I said at the beginning of this program, I said, if we had to continue with the non-violent manifestations, despite the shootings of the government, we would have obtained more reforms than we are having now. Because the country is more chaotic, with hovering clouds of uncertainty, unpredictability of the future. We don't know what will happen next, who will die next. Our own regions are underdeveloped. Nobody cares much about it. We don't know how long the war is going to take. It might be 40, 50 years war, and so on. A generation is being lost as they are uneducated, and so many others living as IDPs, refugees, and so on. This should not be what we are advocating and wishing for our society. It's easy to start war, but very difficult to end it. Like one great thinker said, it is only those who are dead that have seen the end of war. And therefore, we have no interest whatsoever to support war as a means of reclaiming rights. We think that we should use the best of the non-violent strategies that have worked for other countries in Africa, and it could work for Cameroon. We could obtain some positive results from such kind of non-violent action. Yes, 26 million plus Cameroonians, with a young population constituting more than 60% of the population. Imagine just about 10% engaging into political process, joining the political party, putting pressure. People should understand that there are some areas in Cameroon, as far as legislative and other form of election is concerned, that have recorded transparency because the people have been rigorous in checking their ballots during such periods. People should also understand that if we hold the government accountable in a collective manner, pressurized manner, carrying out social campaigns, carrying out all the other ways that we could do the non-violent actions, we will obtain some results. So my advice to those that are holding on is, we still have the chance to see how we could mend things. You know the position of the Popular Action Party. It is for federal republic, and therefore we are fighting for that. If any other person thinks that any other form of state or complete separation is the best, we are wishing, and we have always said it is important that we come as a people under the umbrella of Anglophone people to define our future by the outcome of what we will define there, and also to discuss with the government of Cameroon representing La République du Cameroon and discuss these things. If we agree on the basis of forming this new federal republic, good, then we go ahead. If we do not agree, then we'll look up to.
All right, Fabrice Lena, Secretary General of the Popular Action Party, thank you so much for your time. That's it for this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.